the kitchen now with a guy who, let me tell you, he knows his Cajun food. He's from down south, and he's brought his knowledge of Cajun food and love of it to our area. Good to see you, Rod.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having us back on the show, Amy.
Absolutely. Rod goes around with the biggest jambalaya pot I've ever seen, and caters parties and serves jambalaya at farmers markets and festivals and church picnics, you name it. So if you
name it, we can do it.
You want to hire Rod for a really fun time, you can get more information from him on Facebook. Mean batch of jambalaya, let me tell you. What are we making this morning?
Today we're going to make a quick shrimp Creole. Whenever you cook in a black iron pot, you want to try to cook it as long as you can. That's where the flavor comes from. But this is something that's going to get you super close on the taste, but it's going to be a lot quicker than, it's not going to be an all-day process in a black iron skillet.
Yeah, so. I mean, when you do your jambalaya on site for parties, it is a long ordeal.
Correct.
But, most of us come home from work and need to put dinner on the table in a hurry. So.
Yeah, this is a quick one you could do for dinner.
Love it. So let's get it started here.
Sure. We have 1 stick of butter.
I like this recipe already.
Yeah, you always got to have some butter in there.
Now, it's a Creole dish. How is Creole different from Cajun?
Well, if you go back and you search, do the history search on it, what you'll find is that the Creole dishes have more of a tomato base.
Okay.
They have tomato in almost everything. So a Creole gumbo has tomato, Creole jambalaya. It kind of goes like this. The Creole was upscale.
Okay.
So that was more in the city.
Sure.
The Cajun food was more peasant food.
Okay.
Out on the plantation.
Understand.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So they all have the same derivative of seasonings from Africa, some from the Caribbean, here, France, whatever. But the tomatoes is really what
little different
sets
style.
it apart.
All right,
Correct.
so our butter's melted. What goes in next?
Next we have 4 tablespoons of flour.
Okay, so we're making kind of a roux.
Yeah, we're going to make a roux, but what we're going to do on this one, here, if you'd like to stir our roux.
I'm happy to.
What we're going to do on this one, instead of making a dark roux like I would do for a gumbo, we're going to make a very light roux because this is a mild dish.
Okay.
Shrimp are mild in flavor, so you don't really want to overdo it,
Absolutely, and I was talking earlier about gumbo and that dark roux. I mean, that can take, it's like an all-day deal. You know what I mean?
When I do a roux in my big pot, it takes me about 25 to 35 minutes to get it right where I want it, which is a dark chestnut color.
And it's constantly stirring, and
it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
but,
it's worth it. It's
the
good
end results, correct, are very much worth it.
So butter and flour, and how long do we want to cook this for?
Just a little bit. Once we get it kind of lightly brown, I think we're getting close now. Like I said, you don't want to overdo it. What I have here is 1 large onion.
Okay.
So we add our onion.
Okay.
I have 1/2 cup of bell pepper,
okay.
1/4 cup of celery, and 1 garlic clove, all chopped up.
Again, the Holy Trinity with a little bit of garlic in here. I told you, this is kind of a repeat thing. You're going to find it in so many Cajun.
Almost everything.
Yeah, because it's just good. It works,
It does work.
So let this at home, and we've got a minute or two. We can let this cook
we want to get those a little transparent.
You bet. So besides taking your pot of your Cajun, which, I mean, this thing, we had them on the show before. It's like the biggest specially made jambalaya pot. What are some of the other recipes you do on the road for parties and things like that?
We can deep fry stuff, so we can do like seafood platters. We do pastalaya, which is jambalaya, but with a rice version. And it leaves more of a sauce on it where the rice doesn't absorb the liquid. We do gumbos, Creole, etouffee.
Cajun meatballs are amazing.
Wow. Anything. I mean, when you see the menu, in fact, it's kind of weird because I've talked to several people at events who look at the menu and they're like, man, I never even ate that stuff in a restaurant, and I've been to New Orleans, and I'm like, that's because this is the stuff they serve in the restaurant.
No,
this
it's the good home cook. Yeah, it's the good stuff.
This is the peasant food we ate all our lives in my grandma's kitchen. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting and awesome to share it with everybody here in Northeast
Wisconsin. It was a great story, Sometimes when and Rod, company downsized, lost his job, but this was a dream come true. It was like you always wanted to do it.
I've been wanting to do this since I got here. I mean, 18 years in the making, and
very cool.
Sometimes you just have to
go for it.
Time.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait for the right moment.
Exactly. All right, so we're waiting for this to cook a little bit, and at home you'll let this cook a little longer. But what's our next step here?
Next, we're going to add 1 cup of shrimp stock. What I did was I took the shells from my shrimp yesterday.
Okay.
And we condensed it down into a stock and made a homemade shrimp stock here.
Now, if you didn't want to take the time to do that, they have it in the box, which is it's pretty good. It's not bad.
Do they?
Yeah,
okay,
they do.
I was looking for shrimp. I saw chicken, I saw beef, but I couldn't find no shrimp. However, my grandma
would not like it if you didn't make your own. Yes,
No.
yes,
All our
exactly.
stock we make from scratch.
I understand.
So,
It's seafood stock.
but yeah,
it's, yeah,
it's seafood stock. Yeah, so
yeah.
you could get it. It would save you some time, certainly.
Okay.
Otherwise, just boil the shells with a little bit of accent and a little bit of salt.
And you're going to shell the shrimp anyway. So
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
Why not? Okay.
Then
All
we'd
right.
stir that up.
Okay. All right.
Then what we're going to do here is I like to add my dry seasonings next.
Okay.
I have 2 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning. I like to use the Tony's, a half a teaspoon of accent, 1 teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of black pepper.
Okay. In it
Is
goes.
what's in here. Yeah, and we'll stir that all up in there.
Starting to smell really good. Okay, what's next?
Then next, we're going to take, this is where the simple part comes in. Instead of stewing tomatoes and chopping tomatoes, we grab a thing of Rotel.
Oh yeah, I love
One
it.
small can of
Okay.
Rotel, and there's your tomatoes.
Okay.
It's as easy as that. We'll drop our bay leaf in there.
Okay.
Then at this point, you just kind of want to cook it down a little bit.
Okay.
And then, like you were talking earlier, you don't want to add your shrimp too early because they'll toughen up, you know.
Okay.
So shrimp are bear to cook sometimes. You want to make sure you do that right.
So about what is it, about 2 pounds of shrimp?
Yep, 2 pounds of
2 pounds
shrimp
of
that we
shrimp?
have here, and
Okay.
this is an 1/8 cup of green onions.
Okay.
Green onions I always like to add right towards the end of the dish because I like them to keep that consistency that they have, and I like the fresh flavor
I
that
agree.
it gives right away.
I agree.
So,
All right. So can we throw our shrimp in?
Sure,
At home,
sure.
let this cook a little bit longer, but basically then we're just waiting for the shrimp to turn pink.
Yep.
Is that what we're waiting
Yep.
for?
Usually with shrimp, if you got a good boil going with shrimp, if you cook them 2 to 3 minutes, that's usually more than enough for shrimp. It doesn't take them long to cook.
No, it doesn't, and I think that's where people go wrong. Is
Yeah,
that, you know,
yeah.
you overcook it. Now this is one of those things where you serve it over rice.
Correct.
And with little scallions on top. So we'll let the
Correct.
shrimp turn pink, and we'll plate it up in just a few minutes. And Rod, we're making dessert. What's for dessert?
We're going to make bread pudding, and not just any bread pudding. It's a 100-year-old recipe of bread pudding.
Ooh.
It's my Mama Bageron's bread pudding, and I tell you, I can remember, like yesterday, sitting in the kitchen, and she used to make hers with meringue on it, but I used to take the meringue off.
Yum! I can hardly wait.